Okay, groovy.
Live recording now.
All right, so Jonathan, you want to get going? You want to?
Yeah. Let's do that then, because we'll just have to make the best of it. Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to Community Board 14's Youth Services Committee meeting tonight. We have the usual on the agenda, which is Youth Leadership Council is item number 1, and our upcoming annual youth conference as item number 2. I always want to do introductions, but I'm going to turn it over to Dwayne, and then Dwayne, I guess we'll pass it around. We have a small enough group here.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Dwayne Joseph, co-chair of the Brooklyn Community Board 14's Youth Service Committee. Like my counterpart said, tonight we have a pretty robust agenda, but we hope to get through it quickly and efficiently. With that, I don't see any elected officials on here, so I will then divert to, I want to also acknowledge we've been joined by Police Officer Joseph and Police Officer Mosley. In addition to a few of our board members. So I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, and also our district staff, and then we can go through our board members if you guys wouldn't mind introducing yourselves.
Yeah, so usually when we meet in person, usually we just say our name and represent an organization if you're a board member or if you're just a resident in the community. Although I do see some of our Youth Leadership Council members, so you could also just acknowledge that as well too. So I don't really know what the most efficient way is to go around to do this, but Sean and Anya, I guess you could just say hi.
John Campbell, District Manager, Community Board 14.
Anya Hoyer, Community Coordinator, Community Board 14, and Brian is here as well, folks, from our office.
That's right. It's good to see you, Brian.
Hi, good evening. Brian Williams, Community Associate, Community Board 14. Hello, everybody. Glad to see you all.
Good to see you too. And then we'll go through our board members. Florencia. If you want to say hi, I'll just mention everyone's name, and I'll give a brief pause if you wanted to say hi. Let's see. Of course, our chairperson for the community board, Joanne Brown. You should all know her by now if you don't know her, but definitely make sure you know her if you don't know her by now. Glenn Wolin. Let's see who else we got here. Carl Henry Caesar. I think that's who Carl is on the list here. And Ann Godet and Dawn Marie Walker. Yes, there we go. So you could all wave and say hi. And then how about our Youth Leadership Council members?
Did you miss Glenn Woolen? You couldn't have missed Glenn Woolen.
No, I said Glenn Woolen, didn't I?
Yes, we did.
My apologies. I thought he should be said.
But you didn't pause to actually give anyone a chance to say hi.
Well, I keep forgetting how delayed it is for that to get through on the other side of the computer. So my apologies if I rushed anybody. How about our Youth Leadership Council members? Let's see, Amber and Gabrielle.
Hi, my name's Amber, and I'm a member of the Youth Council leadership. So, hi.
Gabrielle.
Hi, my name is Gabrielle, and I am also a member of the Youth Leadership Council. So hi, everyone. Great to be here.
And also I see Angus.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Angus Parkhill. I don't think my camera's working right now, but I'll try to fix that soon. I'm also a member of the Youth Leadership Council.
Terrific. Thank you for joining all of us. Of course, Mark Moss, our gracious host that's keeping this meeting happening for us virtually, so we could all join tonight. So thank you for everything, Mark. And I don't think I've missed anybody else. If I have.
Just if they want to introduce themselves, P.O. Joseph and
P.O.
Mosley.
Yeah. And then we have somebody else too. I can't name.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us on this meeting. We're happy to be here with you guys. Officer Mosley is here, and also Officer Abdullah, one of our YCOs. I just said one thing that I would just want to mention is just that we have recruitment. So if you guys know anyone who's interested in joining the police department, the filing period is open up until the 27th. So any family members or friends that would want to join the department, definitely give them the information where they can take the exam and they could join us over here in our office. Yeah, you can take the exam starting at 17 and a half. I'm also going to give Officer Abdallah a chance to introduce himself and say some of the things that we're doing with the youth within the police department. And also, I'll give a shout out to Dwayne. Dwayne, thank you so much for that information you gave us. We did connect with Brownsville Think Tank, and we're going to be scheduling a meeting with them next week. So thanks again for that resource.
You're welcome.
To Officer Abdallah and then Officer Mosley.
Hi, everyone. My name is Officer Abdallah. I'm at the 7-0 precinct. I'm the youth coordination officer over here. Just wanted to say hi. It's nice to meet everyone. The first time joining one of these calls. Are we just doing like an intro, or are we going like full into it? Because I don't want to cut.
No. Just an intro for right now.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll get into into more later.
Terrific. All right.
Hi, Officer Mosley, one of the community affairs officers here at the 7-0. Hopefully I'll meet you guys soon in person one day. And have a good one.
Thank you for joining us, officer. I see Glenn Wollen's hand up. Glenn, you want something to say?
I'm just wondering if there are any age limits in terms of joining the police.
Well, let's circle back on that at the end, if you don't mind, Glenn, and I will not forget you this time. I'll make sure we get that answered in the end. We just want to get through the bulk of the agenda first.
Cool. All right. So first is Youth Leadership Council updates. I am going to just turn it right over to Sean and Anya and Brian. As the office has obviously been doing much of the coordination work day to day, and so yeah, let's find out what the latest is. I'm not sure which of the three of you might be the best one to answer any questions or give us an update.
Sean?
Anya.
Okay.
Okay. I beat you. Okay. Well, I can say that we had a great meeting last week, an introductory meeting with our new cohort of Youth Leadership Council members and staff. So it was just sort of a general introduction to the district office activities and the board, and we got to hear some great ideas from them about, some initial thoughts on what the Youth Leadership Council, some of the projects they might tackle, some ideas they might have. We did some question and answer. It was great, and I think they're all looking forward to getting started.
Terrific. Are there any particular next steps that are coming up for the Youth Leadership Council? Any planned meetings that we know of, or anything else like that? Any other milestones, applications, anything like that?
Well, we're putting together right now, and for the three of you who are on the line right now, we're putting together a PowerPoint that you should have received before the meeting. So you're going to receive it right now. It's not quite done yet. You'll see what we're working on, but we talked about committees and what each Youth Leadership Council member might be most interested, which committee they might sync up with. So we put together a little presentation for them, covering some of the information we talked about at the meeting, and then which committees work with which agencies. So we will get that off to you three and the rest of your team shortly. And like I said, it's not quite finished all the way, so hopefully you can help us even fill in some of the dots, but it'll give you more of an idea. So that's the next step. I think YLC members are going to start figuring out which committees meetings they might like to start to attend, and of course attend them all, as many as you like, but which committees they might want to join up with and sort of sync some of their activities with. Sean, anything to add?
No, I think that covers it, unless any of the YLC members want to add anything. Gabrielle, I actually owe you an email because I'm going to make an introduction about a food pantry, because we did talk a little bit about some of the food pantries in the community. So we'll circle back to get that going so you can pursue your interest and bringing that into other parts of the community. But is there anything any of you would like to add?
Yeah, but if anything, yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, I was giving it a thought about the committees that we'd like to be a part of, and I was thinking maybe I'd be interested in joining the Human Services Committee. I think that one really definitely pins my interest. So I think because I know last meeting we spoke about it. So and you told us to give us some thought, and I did. So probably either the Human Services or the Youth Services Committee.
Yeah, that's great. It does seem like it's right up your alley. And I don't know if you saw on the screen, you were getting a big thumbs up from Joanne Brown, who's now the chair of the board and who had run the Human Service Committee for the past few years. So I think that's a great fit. And we had explained that these are not, that there's a lot of flexibility and ability to change once you get started. But I think that's a great place for you to start. Amber, were you planning on adding something?
I've gave a thought to the environmental committee that suits me. So yeah.
Good. Yeah, I think they've both had really interesting agendas lately. So I think you'll get a lot out of them. So it's great.
And I put a link into the chat, everyone, so anyone can take a look at the little presentation that Brian and I have been working on for YLC members. And yeah, feel free. And YLC members, if you want to help us finish it up, you're welcome to as well.
So then I think next steps is just really making sure that we stay engaged along the way and hope to include you in the youth conference itself, and hope that you will join in and facilitate some of the conversations that we have with the presenters. And so unless Angus, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, the one that caught my interest the most, I think, was transportation. It's kind of a big reason why I wanted to join in the first place. So yeah, I think definitely that's a good fit for me.
You know what, you guys, I'll also, we did put the agendas for past committee meetings, recent committee meetings together in this document, so you could kind of see the issues that each committee has been tackling. But knowing that those are your preliminary interests, I'll shoot you all a separate email too with just kind of either chronic issues or long held goals or visions we've had in the community that parallel with those committees, just to kind of broaden the perspective on what we're doing. And we'll also make sure you have the district needs statement and the requests that are pending in this community that are pertinent to your interest. So that's coming at you too. Thanks for putting the thought into it and for your continued interest. And maybe that's a good segue to youth conference discussions.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, our Youth Leadership Council part of the agenda is probably going to be mostly ministerial or administrative, and I don't think there's too much for us to really tackle unless other board members have questions, of course, about any other aspects of what we've been talking about, and any other thoughts or concerns, questions about it. So I'll open it up to that before we move to the youth conference. Feel free to raise your hand if you feel inclined, or if you just want to unmute, we can do that too. We're relatively small enough, I think, and we're a cordial group, I think, so we can make that work. All right, seeing no hands or unmuted mics, I think we can move on to youth conference. Great, so this is going to be really cool. I think our 14th annual youth conference, of course, is going to be totally different than anything we've done before. But I do think that there's going to be a lot of aspects to it that are going to be a massive enhancement to the experience compared to what we've done in the past. You know, might really inform what a post-pandemic experience could look like, you know, utilizing so much of the technology that we've gotten accustomed to over the last year and change. So I am going to remind everybody, the youth conference is going to be Wednesday, May 19th, 4 to 7 p.m. is going to be via Zoom. And the reason why we had the meeting tonight on Zoom is so that those of you who are not familiar with Zoom as a video conferencing platform, because maybe you use something else or you just don't use video conferencing usually, we want everyone who is a part of the decision-making process to get the experience of what everybody else would be using. And so we can kind of kick the tires tonight And I know Glenn was concerned about that because he had not used Zoom before, and I know there have been other people that haven't. The reason we chose it, of course, however, was due to the fact that so many of our Young Youth Leadership Council members had said that their schools had used it primarily, and either as the primary or the backup option, but everyone pretty much had used Zoom. So we wanted to keep the medium consistent with what other, teens in school are already using, just to at least eliminate that barrier of entry to the experience. And we've put out our invitations. The invitation, we have, I think, sent out over 3,000 invitations in total. And that goes out to organizations and businesses that have participated in the past. That goes to the existing list. It goes to schools. It goes to past attendees. It goes to everybody. So we've done a fair amount of that marketing, and that is currently ongoing. The two components of the experience are going to be as we discussed, and we're going to get to sample some of that tonight with Anya's help, or whoever might be the one to do the screen sharing for it, to walk us through some of the, I don't know who might be able to do the screen sharing, but just to walk us through the pieces of the experience that we have figured out thus far, so we could talk about anything, any concerns, any feedback that we can incorporate, for the May 19th event. But namely, we're going to have video introductions from any organization or business participating. Those are going to be pre-recorded, and they're going to be on what we're calling the hallway website for the event. We're going to then have sessions via Zoom meeting, which is essentially going to be mini panel discussions that are going to be moderated by, well, probably people who are going to volunteer here that we'll select, or other key people we think we know from the community or from the board who might be adept at a particular panel discussion. And it's going to cover a range of topics. And the idea is that all of our attendees who register through Eventbrite, they get their ticket, they go to this hallway page the day of the event. They're going to be able to browse through all the organizations that have videos. If they don't submit a video, we came up with a little bit of a shortcut idea, which is that maybe in some cases one of us board members could volunteer to have like a 3-minute interview recorded on Zoom, and we could post the video as a way of filling the gap of organization that may not have a professionally edited video. This way that they'll be represented co-equally with everybody else that might have a more formal video that they prepared.
Samson, do you want me to put the page up for a second?
Yeah. So we want to, I'm just giving them a quick run through. And now that you're saying that we can do screen share and you'll show it, let's do it. So this is the draft. This is not the final version by any means, but this is the draft of what the landing page will be the day of the event. So this is sort of like the YMCA or the Brooklyn College Student Center experience. So go ahead. Do you want to walk us through it, Mark? Because I think you probably have a better handle on the details.
So the participants, and I think we might have only gotten one video at this point. I haven't looked. As I texted Sean and Anya today, I apologize in advance. I'm recovering from dose 2 of the vaccine, like Sean was last time we met. But
I just went through that. I went through dose 1 because I had COVID earlier this year, and dose 1 was like dose 2, knocked me out for 3 days. Anyway, I feel your pain, believe me.
But just to, if we click on, there's nothing. Oh, yeah, there we go. So they didn't provide a video, so we went to their website. As an alternative for that. I have to.
Do we have just one organization that sort of like has like a sample of what it would look like if it had the video?
I don't give me one.
Yeah, sure. Because we could talk around some of the other things if you just want to, like, because just so we have a sense of what it would look like even with dummy content, just so we can see what that sort of feels like.
Yeah, no, we don't have any videos up yet.
Okay. Do you have an example of a page that if it did have a video, what it would look like? Or are they all just linked directly to the organization?
They're all, so if you click on this and there's a video, it would take you right to the video. And I think what
so it would jump you to like a YouTube video.
Right, Anya and Sean, what we talked about, right, was putting them up on YouTube so that they exist after, and putting them on a playlist so that they're easy to find later.
Okay, okay, cool. So that'll be the plan then. So if they have a video, we will upload it to our CB14 YouTube channel, and they'll be able to watch the video directly there, and then it'll be put in a playlist. So that way, honestly, then in that case, then they'll probably just browse the other videos in the youth conference playlist and probably click through that way too. So either through this site or even directly on the YouTube channel playlist, they might be able to just click through and browse through the organizations. Okay.
Right, and then there'll be a calendar which will have the various sessions, and each of these will link to the Zoom room for that session.
Okay.
And this is just, we just made times. This is
Yeah.
These are clearly not real times, but whatever sessions exist at, let's say 4 o'clock, would be listed at 4 o'clock, and each one would be a separate link into a Zoom meeting.
Gotcha. Okay. You know, contingent on what organizations or businesses or agencies come through, that will kind of help us. So we're going to pretty much leave it to the discretion of the office to decide the exact arrangement of the topics. And obviously the office will consult with us as co-chairs, only because we, in order to craft the panels, it's going to be so specific to who actually is going to show up that you know, it'll probably just make sense to do it that way. We did talk about, I know Anya and I had talked about, there are some topics, maybe we would have one that would be about how to do interviews as a you know, either as a student applying for college or applying for your first job, and how to do that virtually and what that experience is like, and maybe putting a panel together for, like we did for the mock interviews experience, where we do a panel with other people who are young professionals in like HR or do hiring, and how they've been doing virtual interviews over the last year. That might be a great panel. We talked about that idea. We talked about you know, how to get a summer job panel, which we've had workshops like that in the past. So again, depending on who comes through and is open to doing sort of these you know, breakout panel sessions, that's how we would probably curate more or less the topics that they're going to be built around. And that's how we would put together the schedule that Mark just showed us and fill it in with some of the blanks. We may not have that information maybe up until maybe at least another 2 weeks from now, once we get more of a critical mass of organizations. In terms of organizations and businesses that have signed up right now, Anya, how many do we have as of this moment?
We have 10 organizations and we have 56 students registered.
Beautiful. So that's great. So then obviously a big part of what we need to do now is just push people to sign up. But maybe we could show, I don't know who could, if anyone can. I don't have it up right now, but I could probably pull it up if we want to show the Eventbrite page for registration. Maybe we could put the link in there in the chat.
Could I just post it into the chat?
Yeah. That's, oh yeah, even better. Let's do that. Oh, all right. Well,
I have it. I actually have it open. So I mean, if
Okay,
you guys
cool.
need to, I can pull it up.
I didn't get that all prepared. Apologies.
These are the organizations to date. So I'm gonna stop my share because I have to.
The nice, can I jump in, Jonathan, Dwayne? I think the nice thing about that list is that it's not our usual suspects. We've got some people who haven't participated with us before, but by usual suspects, I know we can count on COPO, COJO, FDC, and the PS90 task force has asked to be a part of it. And I think CCCI. So I feel like it's going to be easy to double this, and with even a modicum of effort, you know, to get maybe triple it. But I think, yeah, this, and I bet Michael Joseph is glad to see elite learners on the list, because I know that they partner with CCCI and do a lot of work that he's interested in. Looks like a good mix of groups. So far, so good.
Yeah, it does. And I think, like you said, there's going to be a lot of our usual people. Like, you know, we probably should make sure we get Brooklyn College on there still. And I'm sure they all got the invite. So we know, you know, it's everyone, everything's email today. There's no human interaction. So there might be a need for us as a committee and a board to follow up with certain groups and sort of like emphasize like, hey, we're doing something different, but this is also really important. All the more reason for you to show up in this virtual capacity. And so that's going to be the experience. It's going to be a bunch of panel discussions like this. I believe, Mark, we're doing the webinar style, which means only the people talking will have video, and everyone who attends would only be able to ask questions in the chat, and they would not have their mic or their video enabled automatically, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that way we don't have to worry about recording or privacy or age issues, or more importantly, I think everyone's just terrified of a Zoom bomber, you know, like doing something completely offensive. So that's what that experience will be like. So it'll be easy for everyone to just hop in, and only the panelists will be visible and able to, you know, participate by audio or video.
If I may, Jonathan, I just want to quickly just share my screen to show folks what the Eventbrite page looks like. I know Anya shared the link, so I'm just gonna jump in here. Can everyone see that? Are you guys able to see that? Okay, so this is our Eventbrite page. This is what, you know, parents and students will see. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, this is not what, when I went through it at least, this is not where organizations would register.
Correct. They have a different form.
So they would come in, they would see a description of what our youth conference is all about. They click on register, and then they have an option to, like Jonathan said, select a ticket. They'll register themselves, and they will then be sent confirmation. And I'm assuming there's an automatic email that's going to be generated and sent out to them with once the Wix page is set up, that'll be sent out to them to let them know how to access the content.
Yep.
Or are we sending that separately?
You guys tell me. The question is, do we want it? Do you want that page active prior to the day of, or to activate on the day of?
I'm kind of leaning towards, you know, activating it prior to, as long as we have a working version of it where we're kind of cleaned it up, and all we're doing as we move forward is adding participants and videos where possible. Just because it would save a little time and people reviewing videos in advance, with people being able to review some videos in advance. But I don't know how you guys feel about that, how Jonathan, the rest of the youth committee members feel about that.
And just be aware, Dwayne, of those 10 organizations, only one has submitted a video.
Right, and that's why that slight little backup plan idea, which is an informal thing. We would have to just get members of our board who are comfortable with doing such a thing. Like, the idea was to maybe have one of us sit down with one of the representatives of those organizations, because maybe they just are intimidated by the idea of producing a video and they don't think they'll be able to do it, and do a recorded Zoom session for like a whopping 5-10 minutes max, probably just for 3 minutes worth of conversation. And then we could just upload the recording to the YouTube channel, and that would be the way that that organization gets their video. And we would ask the same, 5-7 questions of everyone. And that way, that would be like a little intro experience. But that's something we'd have to talk about if we would go that route. In terms of whether we should have the site up front, and we'll go around and ask questions. My initial thoughts would be, I do agree with the idea of letting people sort of browse who's going to show up in advance. I don't think the videos should be a barrier. I also just don't want to advertise the site prematurely without a critical mass of content first. So maybe that Monday, or maybe the week before, we would like launch it, and we could send it out through the Eventbrite registrants, and then tell them to take a look and do something like that. And like, hey, check out who's going to be there. And the main thing really is to take advantage of the Zoom breakout sessions anyway. And that's what you'll have to be there for day of. Those are my thoughts. Glenn, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Well, I tend to agree with you, Jonathan, that the whole idea is for people to be able to get this information, see the videos, see the content, whatever there is. So maybe a week, 10 days before the event might be a good time to activate the page or activate the whole thing, whatever it is. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. So this is the event. Go ahead. Yes.
I can't raise my hand because I don't have that option, but
That's all right.
Two things. One is the videos. Anya, tell me if I'm wrong, or Sean, but right, they were limited to 2 minutes, correct? Was what we told
I thought we
everyone.
said 2 to 3.
That was what was discussed last time.
So whatever interviews should fall within whatever you set as the limit. People who didn't do a video shouldn't get longer time than people who did.
Out of curiosity, where is the parameter for the video mentioned? Is it in the middle of the form or is it in the invite?
It would be in the invite as far as I recall. I remember writing it. I don't remember where it is.
Okay. Yes, I
I'm
didn't see
sorry.
it on the form.
Yeah, my cursor keeps disappearing, so I can't click into things to check.
Do you want me to read you what it says on the form? It's the last thing on the form. I posted the organization link there right before the Eventbrite.
Gotcha.
So it does say, this one says, please keep the video under 2 minutes. That's what it says in there. Yeah.
Okay.
But we can adjust that as the co-chairs and committee.
I mean, please keep to under 2 minutes. It's like saying, just don't make it 5 or longer, I guess is probably how most people will interpret it. I mean, I wouldn't be in favor of axing a video because it went over 30 seconds from a 2 minute limit. As long as it's not a 10-minute video, then I'd be like, all right, you need to chop that down. That's my personal opinion, but.
I think you're right, Jonathan, but then you have to actually pick a specific time as a cutoff. So asking for under 2 minutes is fine. Maybe you should make the cutoff 3 minutes. So if people are a little bit over, it's fine, but it won't upload if it's 5 minutes. That's the experience I had in the past a bunch of years ago until it was cut down.
I think we tend to use more, the positive phrasing, like, please, all videos should be within 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. 3 minutes is probably the max. I mean, love to hear from our YLC members because I might have a different opinion about how long a video should be before I get bored with it than maybe our key demographic here might. But other than that, yeah, maybe I just wouldn't reject anything if it's under 3 minutes. So maybe we should say 2 to 3, just because I don't think we should reject it if it's like closer to 3.
Yeah, the biggest reason I brought it up was to make sure if you guys are conducting interviews that you don't exceed the limit.
No, absolutely. There'd have to be quick, rapid fire questions and answers and just nice conversation that gets the point across about what the organization's about and what they offer and for what age ranges. That's probably the most important thing. So anyway, that's a backup plan idea. If we want to, if for any of us who are motivated to volunteer to do that kind of a thing for a group that maybe doesn't have a video, doesn't have video production capabilities, but we have an affinity individually with that group or that business, and we want to do something like that. It's a completely optional scenario to just help get some more videos on there if we need to. That's just an idea.
I thought I saw Gabrielle raise a finger there to say something. I could have been wrong. She could have just been scratching her nose.
No, go ahead if anyone has anything to say.
Did you have something you wanted to say, Gabrielle? Okay.
Well, I will ask our, first I want to ask our board members, do you have any questions about the flow of this? It's somewhat similar to what we've done in the past. Obviously, it's very different though. So any questions from our board members, any concerns from our board members? Anne, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
You got to unmute yourself, Anne.
Anne, you're still muted.
Okay, I'm sorry, I found it. So regarding the time, I think your suggestion's fine. I think as they get longer, the students will just leave and not watch the rest. So that's the risk they run. 2 to 3 minutes is fine, but I guess if they're really engaged, they'll stay through the end of the presentation. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Ann. Glenn?
Well, what I'm concerned about, well, not concerned, but I'm the way this sets up, we can suggest 2 to 3 minutes, that's fine, but the way the program actually works, are there limits that are put on, or is it just left open and just, you know, we could say 2 to 3 minutes, but it'll accept anything, or is there a hard number that after 3 minutes it won't accept it, or it'll cut it off? And anywhere throughout this presentation, are there any of these hard stops? Because we need to know that. Thank you.
There are no electronic hard stops. The hard stop is us looking at it when it comes in and saying, this is 8 minutes long, this is no good.
There's not actually an upload limit. I think that's what you're asking, right, with the form. It's not.
It could be, right? We could have an upload limit.
Yep, we're using Google Drive, and Google Drive, you can limit by size of file. And that's tricky because depending on what resolution the video is, specific times are different file sizes. So somebody could have an 8-minute low res video and somebody else could have a 2-minute high res video at the same file size.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
But I think to answer your question, Glenn, is that we'll be reviewing the videos as they come in, and anything that's over, you know, the allotted or recommended time, we may have to reach back out to the organization and ask them to redo their video and shorten it.
So the 2.5 hour video that I'm preparing is a bit long? All
Yeah,
right.
Glenn,
Just slightly.
I'd like to suggest that we don't spend too much time on solutions in search of problems. I mean, we have one video now. If the second video we get is 4 minutes. So let's maybe move on. And if we do have a problem with too many overtime videos, we can maybe regroup to figure out how to handle that. But so far, I don't anticipate it being people. If you say 2 or 3 minutes, they'll pretty much stick to it.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can I add something real quick?
Please.
Just give 1 second. Carl has his hand up. Is it related to this point, Angus?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, all right, go ahead and then we'll acknowledge your call.
I think people's attention spans start dropping off around 2 minutes, so I think it definitely does make sense to limit to that. Also, this is just like a personal opinion, but I feel like we should probably be pretty strict about the time limit, because it's like, I feel like it's kind of a slippery slope. Like it's like, oh, okay, it's 3 minutes. Oh, okay, it's 4 minutes. Just like trying to let more things in. I feel like it makes more sense to kind of have like a hard stop, at least like 2:30 or something.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing, Angus. Carl, go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Jonathan. Good evening, folks. I guess my question is just wondering how much of the programming schedule is set, right? So like I got the email that said, you know, it's going to be from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., right? And there's going to be some sort of, you know, I guess presentation in the breakout rooms. And so I'm just wondering how close are we yet to calling out what that agenda is, right? Like I haven't clicked on the Eventbrite link and I saw what you guys did and it looks great. But while the Eventbrite screen was on page, I forgot to check if there was a high level breakdown in terms of, hey, you know, from 4 to 5, this will be this, 5 to 6, 6 to 7. So do we have any idea yet high level how that will look?
So I mean, I'll defer here to the office staff, but I don't think we've said that yet. We still literally invitations went out this week. So we have to kind of gauge what kind of participants we have, what industries and categories they would fall into. So I would think, you know, over the next maybe 2-week period, as we see more participants join, it'll give us then an opportunity to kind of run through the list and start building out a more refined program for the day, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
I see Glenn has his hand up.
Yeah, I have a different type of question. So let's assume that I can put together this 2-minute video and also include how people can access the Ready New York literature. And I upload that. Am I done? Or do you expect me in some way, shape, or form to be online from 4 to 7? I don't understand how this is due to work.
Yeah, the video is just your introduction, Glenn, and then you're there for the program. The programmatic part is being in the chat rooms and doing the presentation or being part of the panel discussion in those rooms. So it's just sort of like if you you know, the video is sort of like the tabling when people would stand at their tables and just be able to do the introductions. And then the chat rooms are the presentation rooms. And I think what's really different about this year's, because it's remote, is it used to be the tabling was the major part of the event. And then the rooms were more sort of ancillary. And now I think the rooms are the main part of the event, and the tabling or the pre-recorded videos are ancillary. Does that make sense? Is that more clear?
No, but it means that you want me on from 4 to 7 and some place or other to answer questions.
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that question. I'm glad that my explanation wasn't clear, because it makes me feel like I will have to go back tomorrow and review the invitation, and maybe with people who haven't read it 1,000 times like I have, and just make sure it communicates clearly so that other organizations aren't like, video done by, have a good event, see you next year.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's an excellent point, Glenn. And yeah, that's why we review all of this as a committee, because any 1 or 2 people could easily, get so used to the idea of a concept of something that it's easy for the different ways people might interpret it to not be fact. That's why we work as a team. This is great. So I do think that should be clearer, because in my mind, even I interpreted, and that's why I said that, I interpreted it to be that possibly we would have some people who wouldn't be involved in panel discussions potentially. They would just have like their information on the site. But also it does make sense that they're gonna be a part of the conference at all, that there should be another way for them to be a more interactive part of the conference too. So I think clarifying the relationship that you're giving us the video, but also we're gonna put you on a panel or some other presentation setup. I think that's a really good thing to indicate more clearly. And I think probably maybe with the video, we should just go with what everyone's suggestion is, say maximum 3 minutes, somewhere between 2 and 3 would be perfect. And then put that clearly wherever we have the any intro about someone participating in the conference. So that way it's all the way through, they know that's a requirement that we would expect from them. And then maybe we would just say, if you have issues putting together a video, let us know. And then that way we can make the decision of whether or not we just link to the website, or maybe it'll be one of those inspired little brief interview things we could do.
Yeah, Jonathan, that is in there too, just to be clear, that it does say in the community-based organization / agency registration form, it does say that to reach out to Mark if you can't make your own video. It says it much more eloquently than that.
Is it because it's in the middle of the form flow and it's not in the initial description? Is that why I don't see it? Or is
I don't know why you don't see it. That's a hard question for me to answer.
No, I know. I mean, is it on the Google form?
What is it you're looking for? I can maybe help.
Because I'll just share my screen quickly. This is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing form here, and I just don't see that level of detail.
So that's like that's 6 pages. So as you fill it out on page 6, I can go to page 6 on mine because I'm signed in administratively and show you if you'd like. The question is about the video, correct?
Yeah, those details. I guess I'm just questioning if there's wisdom.
See how it says page. Yeah. Would you like me to share my screen and show?
Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead. I'll stop sharing. Just about whether there's wisdom in putting that information more clearly up front, so that someone doesn't get spooked. Like, oh wait, I don't have a video, so forget it.
But it's right where it says they should submit a video. They don't know they have to submit a video till they get to the part where it says you should submit a video, and then it says, but if you can't do it, call Mark.
Right. I mean, again, I would defer to what people are doing. If that's fine, then that's fine. I don't mean to cause a problem with that. Just, I guess it wasn't clear to me that there was a backup answer to that. That's all.
Well, also, when I filled out the forms and I got to the point about video, of course, I don't have a video. So I just am finished for the moment. I'm saying, okay, maybe I have to do something about that. But now that means I have to go back and redo that part of the form, correct? Because I filled it out and I'm done, except I'm not done. So
no, you don't. It just says if you have, can you see the screen? Can you all see the screen that I'm sharing? Okay. Yeah, because it says if you have a video ready to go. This is sort of where is the line? Okay, if you don't have a video or a Gmail address, you can still finish registering for the conference today. Please contact event host Mark Moss at his email address for instructions on how to upload your video before the May 7th deadline.
Okay.
So that seems sufficient?
Deadline. Okay, that I didn't know. All right. I have a deadline.
So when we do reminders and follow-ups to people, we will just make sure to include that line. If you haven't submitted your video yet, this is what you should do.
With the email, because they're saying here that if we have a problem, we should be contacting with Mark Moss, and there's the email. So let's make sure to keep that email in that reminder. Okay, no, that's good. All right, thank you. So I know I have a May 7th deadline. That's 12 days before the conference. Do we really need that much time?
Yes, because people will always send it in later than the deadline. That's why.
Well, because my concern is for people like myself, this is not something we normally do. Now, we get involved with lots of events, but everything about this is new, right? Except it isn't. I've been doing a lot of Zoom and a lot of WebEx meetings, but this particular type of event is completely new. And it may be completely new to a fair amount of the potential vendors. So
that deadline was suggested or requested by Mark. So I defer to him. It can be a soft deadline probably, but I could defer to Mark as to why that was the deadline that made most sense to gather the videos.
I mean, it was mostly to just process everything, make sure that the videos were the files were good, that we didn't have file issues, to get because it's not just the deadline for the video upload, it's the deadline for the whole form. So to make sure we could lay out the page with all the participants on it and have it all done, if we're talking about a week to 10 days prior to the event, posting the site, we want to have as much in there as we can when that happens. You want to post it with 6 and then have 35 people come in after the initial posting. It's not just the video deadline, it's the entire registration deadline for not for the youth, but for the participants.
No, and that's fair. And obviously we can make any judgment calls if someone's exceptionally late, if it's possible or not. But then everyone will have had fair notice. So we'll be able to make those decisions as we may need to.
Any New York City agency that gives a deadline, everybody I think has caught on to it being a soft deadline. New York City doesn't even live up to its own deadlines, let alone. But we'll do our best.
I remind people all the time that it's a compound word, and look at what the first half of the word is.
I do want to acknowledge, Anne has had her hand up for a bit, so I do want to acknowledge her. I think she has a question.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. So sort of written in between the lines of Glenn's video discussion, it occurs to me that I'm curious how documents would be attached if somebody wants to pick up documents that as opposed to listening to a video for however many minutes, maybe they're familiar with that group and they don't want to sit through. Is there a way to post documents at the end of the video as well as in a hallway or a different place where that data could be easily captured by a participant? Thank you. Do you understand my question or my point? Does that? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I don't want to speak prematurely, but I would imagine we would have description text attached to the YouTube video so that if someone goes there and there's a link to the correct page on their website, that a person could just jump to that. Or I would imagine also that if an organization goes, we don't need a video, we have a really great page for all this already, so link. But that's what I imagine would happen. I see Anya's hand is up, and I wonder if that's because you want to, is that from before, or is that because you want to answer this?
I had a question.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
But is that an accurate thing to say, what I just said?
Sounds right to me, but I would defer to Mark on any, technical side. But yes, I mean, that sounds like the concept we've discussed.
Yeah, the description, I doesn't matter to me. I question whether you want to become the storage hub for documents.
Well, if they have a website,
it's mostly going to be the website, right? Like any information from the organization is going to be on the website, and any documents would be just the information from the website. So I think whether it's through the video or the logo, all of the organizational websites will be a part of the page the way they are on our youth conference page, right?
Yeah.
So so all of the information for the organization will be accessible through the site.
Terrific. Anya, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. I just wanted to sort of more formally propose this, but this is not a new idea. I think the committee's spoken about it, and Jonathan too, but just also to make sure this would be technically possible. So that's a question for Mark. As far as like going back to what Glenn started talking about ways of participating for the different organizations, I was envisioning, and I don't know if this is possible, but I was envisioning in the hallway. So in addition to the sitting on an information panel, in that hallway where those video links are, I think it would be great if there could just be a little box to have a live chat with, say, Glenn is there from 4 to 7, and there's the little CERT video or the link, whatever it is, there could be a chat box underneath it. And that way, any student that was interested in specifically CERT, rather than going to hear the CERT presentation, could just chat some questions to Glenn, like, hey, I'm 14, can I get involved? What opportunities are? So I wanted to know if that would be another way that organizations could participate in the event, just basically like info tabling.
I don't think we can do, because then what you're asking for, I think, are multiple chat options on the page. And I don't think you can, I think you go to a chat option, but you can't then go pick who you want to speak to. You just speak to the general, wherever we assign the chat option. But the other thing is, doesn't that get us close to Sean's concern about kids and adults communicating in a closed?
I don't think so. I mean, it's still privacy. I mean, these are youth organizations that ideally we have vetted, we're not, I mean, most of the people coming are people that, we have a relationship for at least 10 years, a lot of them. It's true, there might be new organizations. I don't know.
The short answer is, anyway, I don't know that we have to have that other conversation, because I don't think we can create 30 different chat options for 30 different organizations. They may be able to do it on their websites.
But maybe that's the way we just have to look at it, is that just like at the conference, the person that's at the table may not be the person to talk to for any like real follow through. And if we're going to basically put everyone who's registered into a panel discussion Zoom meeting, where even in the webinar, they'll be able to ask questions of the panelists, right? So there will be a chat feature. They'll just have to get into the discussion with the right, entity that they want to talk with, and then they can post their question that way. And then that would be preserved for the record. So that way any of those organizations can maybe follow up independently if they wish. And that'll just have to happen during the course of the panel discussion Zoom meeting. And that might be probably the happy medium we're going to be able to pull off. I mean, realistically. The only other thought that I did have is, do we want to have a help desk, which we have a handful of CB14 volunteers, which is like a generic Zoom meeting where people can hop in and ask questions. And it's sort of like we have the front desk, and have that as an ongoing thing where people could come in, ask questions, and then we could kind of like play traffic cop and direct them accordingly. That's one thing that we could do that, again, might be a happy medium there. It doesn't put every organization on the hook for answering questions for the 3 hours, but it gives us a way to at least route and refer and connect that way. And maybe we could get a handful of volunteers who would like run that Zoom meeting, which would just be like an ongoing Q&A session for people as they pass through. I don't know if there's even wisdom in that, but that might be another way we could do it.
Technically, there's no issue. I don't know if that solves or addresses Anya's concern.
That's fine if that's what's possible. I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think that was the initial idea we discussed, though, to have like, something where I would like someone like myself would volunteer and just kind of redirect people where they needed to go if they had questions, weren't sure where or what breakout room they should be in. But yeah, I think it would be really difficult and maybe even a little bit cumbersome to have panel discussions and breakout sessions and then having individual organizations having chat bubbles. I think it's better to kind of keep it as simple as possible and straightforward as possible, and not overcomplicate it.
That's good. Glenn, you have your hand up?
Yeah.
And if anyone else, before we just go 1 second, just if anyone else has any other questions about anything else that we haven't covered, just feel free to get your hand up now so I could make sure that Dwayne and I can call on you. Go ahead, Glenn.
Well, I'm still not altogether clear on how I'm going to be conversing with people, but I'm not too concerned about that because I'll be online and wherever you put me, and whatever happens will happen. But I am going to be somehow posting something like CERT brochure. You can find the CERT brochure and then a website, and then you can find personal disaster preparedness information under Ready New York and another website. Now, where and how will that be facilitated?
I would imagine, so in your situation, Glenn, let me think about CERT. This is, and anyone like Anya, Sean, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. Part one is you would have the video. And if you don't know how you would want to create a video, I could interview you about CERT. We could put a video together through Zoom, like we said, through our like backup idea. In that video, I'd ask you the basic questions, and then we would probably put a link in the YouTube description where they could access whatever materials are on the CERT website. So if you reference a brochure, we'll make sure there's a link in the description that says, here's the brochure link, here's the sign up link, whatever that is. Then that's just the video that anyone will be able to browse before, after, and during the conference. Then secondarily, we might have a panel discussion, let's say, on public safety careers. And we might have CERT. So we'd have you, we would have 70th Precinct, we would maybe have from recruiting, maybe some of FDNY recruiting, and they would talk about certain things related to that. Maybe they would do a brief presentation of a different kind or whatever in that conversation, but that would be how you would then be able to field questions for those who attend that public safety career panel discussion. And that would be the second way in which you would be able to not only present and talk about CERT, but then answer specific questions that panelists might, not panelists, the attendees might chat and ask along the way. And that would be part of the experience.
So you're sort of answering the question, but not exactly.
Okay.
So if what I'm going to be giving the information where you can find the CERT brochure, for example, during the video, as opposed to having it posted someplace that someone could click on at any time, then I need to hold up a sign so people can see it as well as hear it, because it's a website, so
no,
I can do that. But I'd rather there be a place where they could click on it at any time they want and have it on their screen and then find it and have a link to it.
Go ahead, Mark.
The two things. The YouTube video, if there's a video, has a description box. When people click on to get to the video, there's a description box. That description box can have whatever links you'd like. And that description box stays with the video. So even after the event, somebody looks at that video, that description box is still there. So that's the first piece. The second piece is, I think, the website, sorry, the chat boxes in the breakout meetings, when you're talking about it, the website can go into the chat box. So anybody who's in that breakout can click on it and go right to the page that you want them to go to.
Just like we've linked things as we've been talking through this meeting, Glenn, in the chat, there's a link to a number of resources that, and you know, and Anya is actually brilliant at this at all of our meetings, that something comes up and suddenly, boom, there's a link in the chat to get to it. So that is sort of a, you know, two ways of getting that covered. But I hear your sort of discomfort with flying by the seat of your pants, but that's how we're doing it this year. And I share the discomfort, but we just kind of got to move through with faith, I think.
I'll participate and do everything that I can. You know, it just, the more clear I am going into things, the easier it is to prepare.
Yeah, I think that's most of us, but this is just a little murky because it's unknown to all of us, but I think we're in good hands. And we keep saying that an event that could have been better is better than an event that didn't happen at all.
And just
I agree with you. I'm happy that something is happening.
And just bear in mind, Glenn, you know, we've got a couple of weeks, so there are ways to refine this out of just this meeting. So, you know, I think Jonathan is showing now his screen on YouTube where you can have a video and you can have links underneath that people can see how to connect. But again, we can talk more maybe offline to discuss and refine this a little bit more.
And I just wanted to show that so that way, again, if that's a question that anybody else has or is deeply concerned about, how do we connect all these external resources to a video, 2-3 minute video, and what do you do with all the other information you want people to have access to? This would be a way for us to do that and accomplish that. So just so you can see, this is an NYC Mayor's Office thing, and just you can see how they have all their links here. So we could do something very similar for every other organization that might want hard links attached to the video. So, all right. Any other hands raised from board members? And then I'd love to hear from our YLC members as well. Seeing no more board member hands. Gabrielle, Angus, Amber, do you have anything you'd like to tell us about all that you're hearing about the experience? The good, the bad, the ugly, do to make it more exciting or useful? Let us have it.
I think it's great that you guys are being aware of the time limit on the videos. I think that's really important that you're acknowledging that. And yeah, like Sean said, you know, this is just an event that should be taking place, and you know, we'll learn along the way.
Cool. Any particular thoughts about the experience, or any particular topics that you think we should be intentionally, I don't know, curating or addressing? Anything that you think would really resonate and would help out you or other friends of yours, classmates that are in need of a particular thing? Anything you could like highlight for us? Because we're still in the invitation period, and it definitely helps to know where there might be particular interest and demand if we can go out and work our networks and invite those organizations.
I really like the idea of teaching or trying to explain how to conduct an interview and how to answer those questions for kids. I think that's really, really important. And that's a skill that a lot of kids nowadays, especially those who are home, have been lacking, you know, socially and speaking. So I think that's really important. And I like that idea a lot of trying to, you know, have kids and young people being able to communicate better. Especially, it's been really tough during the pandemic, you know, being stuck home, not having, you know, being able to socialize with teachers, friends, counselors, whatever the case is. So I think that's really important, and I love that idea a lot.
Well, awesome. Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, we would definitely get the Young BK Professionals Committee of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce to get involved in that again, and help with that panel in particular. Amber, Angus, any thoughts?
Yeah. So you said at some point that you sent out like 3,000 invitations, was it? I was just wondering, like, are those all people who have come before? And like, if not, how do you like find new people to invite to these meetings? Like, what system do you use to?
I'll let whoever wants to, if Anya, you want to?
I can tackle that if you know, just based on Anya's email. Do you want to step in, John, or I can go ahead? I mean,
Go ahead, Dwayne, and then
Go ahead.
Anya can fill in if she needs
yeah.
to.
So Angus, just to answer your question, yes, some of the list is curated from attendees in the past. We also reach out to all of the local schools, parent coordinators at schools, organizations that have participated in the past, our general community distribution list, as well as our board members. And just like I've asked at other meetings, I don't know if you had a chance to attend some of the other meetings, we always ask people to share the information as widely as they can. I think last night alone, I shared it in 6 Facebook groups, a couple other social media platforms. But we encourage you to, once you have access to the information, the link, everything else, share it widely amongst your network. So it's just a social share and just letting people know the opportunities there and to sign up. If you know of organizations or individuals that might want to participate, let them know about it.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking, Angus.
May I ask Angus though, do you have thoughts or ideas of other ways that we can reach out? And before you answer it, I'm also going to see if Brian Williams wants to jump in, because he was going to try to work on some social media outreach. But Angus, if you have suggestions, we're all ears.
Yeah, that's what I had in mind when I asked the question. I was wondering like what your guys' social media outreach is like, because that's like a big way to get more people to come, especially as the world is modernizing more. So yeah, I was just pretty much wondering like what your guys' presence is like on different social media networks, Facebook,
All
Instagram.
the help we can get, Angus.
Yeah, I can say that it's been shared on at least in the neighboring community, the Facebook groups, which number some, I'd say somewhere between 20 and 25,000 members of some of the local Facebook groups, or as far as membership. The community board has posted it to the Twitter page, so that can be shared as well. I've personally posted it on my LinkedIn page and passed it on to a couple of colleagues, hoping for them to connect and register their organization, and just throughout my professional and personal networks. So, I mean, I'm hoping other board members and even yourselves as YLC members are doing the same. But that's how it is. If you could think of any other social media networks, like I know if you have Apple, I forgot what that new, what is it, Clubhouse? So if you have Apple, share it in Clubhouse. Or wherever else you can share it. So yeah, it's being actively shared, and the idea is you get connected and you push it out to 10 of your friends, and hopefully they'll do the same.
Thank you.
Amber added the suggestion in the chat, Instagram, and I don't know, Brian, was that on your list, Instagram?
Initially, not initially, but definitely Instagram is a great platform as well. I know there were some concerns that the team had regarding social media. So I know sometimes Instagram and Facebook can invite a lot of commenting. So that's initially why it wasn't considered, but I think in this case it's definitely helpful, because with Instagram, you're bringing the visuals to the audience at the same time.
And just to add to the social media point, we have accounts but also possibly the more useful thing is to use the social media page as really a repository for content that you want other people to share. You can turn commenting off on a lot of things. You don't have to make it a lot of overhead. As long as you make it easy for people to share in their Instagram story or their Facebook story. I don't know if we've touched the TikTok thing. I don't know if we're gonna touch that, but whatever. Making it easy for people to just click the share button and then automatically propagate on their networks is probably the most effective use of social media, even if we're not churning out tons of content and cultivating tons of followers just for our pages. Getting into everybody else's networks very easily is probably more beneficial than not anyway. So
yeah, for sure.
Glenn, I see your hand is up.
Thank you. Yes, just a couple of quick questions. You said that we have 10 organizations that have signed up so far. Now, am I correct that most years it's usually 60 something? And if so, 3 weeks before the event, is 10 unusually low, or is this a normal progression? Anya might know this answer.
Yeah, I can respond to that. We just, as Dwayne mentioned, we just started invitations this week. So we had, for instance, 56 students sign up in less than 24 hours. So that's great. And the organizations have only received their first round. Usually we start fairly early and we don't get generally 10 people registering until about a month ahead. You know, it's very slow those first 2 months. So I think we're right on track.
Okay.
And for the record, just to say that the community board in the past has managed to pull off in-person conferences with the massive attendance in 6 weeks. So it's happened, like, you know, it's, I don't think we have a normal for the virtual experience, but it's not, this is probably par for the course and just human behavior. I think it'll be fine.
Well, that's what she's saying, that basically we're on essentially the same track. But so far, do we have any organizations that actually have jobs to offer?
I don't believe so.
Oh, no, we do actually. We have a couple. We do have a couple organizations that, you know, I think someone was sharing the screen. You can do that again, or I could post it in the chat, the organizations, but I would have to go through, I guess, and review which organizations, but I know FDNY, for example, is talking about recruitment. I know there's several organizations that it did indicate on their form.
Yeah, I don't need to know specifically, just a curiosity. So thank you very much.
And that's sort of incumbent upon us, as always. This is a strange year. It's going to be hard for anyone to be able to say, yeah, I want my usual summer job help from a couple of local teams or whatever. It's going to be a strange year for that, but we have to curate it. We have to go and look for the people that might have something and make sure that they're coming and say, yeah, you just need a video and we'll put you on a panel discussion and it's going to be great and it'll be recorded forever. It'll be the best marketing you ever got for free and a little bit of your time. So I think as long as we make that pitch to people that we know, I think we could definitely make sure it's well-rounded with the different kinds of offerings that, you know, that our demographic of 14 to 21 are looking for. So
no, the reason I brought it up is just because previous years we always tried at least to make sure that the SYEP had a table, which would be a major draw because kids come in where they really could get a job. And since that's already closed out, I believe, I just want to make sure there's enough going on to motivate the youth to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Carl, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I did, but Glenn basically got to the same point that I did, where Anya had posted about the SYEP, and I was wondering about the timing of the SYEP this year, and you know, the kind of coordination in the past, where the youth conference helped to funnel people to that opportunity who didn't know about it. So just wondering how that was looking this year as well. So yeah.
So this year, they dropped sort of like a surprise on everybody. They just kind of announced it out of nowhere, and the deadline is tomorrow.
Exactly.
However, DYCD has a number of programs that they're running that are independent of SYEP. There are year-round programs. There are different opportunities that they're offering. And more importantly than anything else, maybe a bunch of 14 and 15-year-olds who show up didn't even realize it was a possibility anyway. They may not have been prepared, but now they'll be prepared for next year to know, to look out for the deadline and so forth. So I think as long as we have DYCD participate in any capacity, I think it'll be productive for attendees, whether it materializes this summer or it materializes for them next summer. I think it'll still be a boon regardless of the SYEP deadline. That's my personal take. So.
Got you. Thank you for that.
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns about the programming of this conference, about what we have to do next as a committee and as a board to make it a success? So any other questions, comments? Looking for those hands. See who pops up.
I do want to quickly, because we did have a quick discussion about, I don't know if you saw it, there was an email amongst the chairs, co-chairs that was circulated about flyers. If we have a quick opportunity to do that, I would like to have that quick discussion, but also to be mindful of time, because I know Sean has to drop off soon, and I believe Glenn has another meeting he has to drop off for as well. And we have the 70th precinct here to make announcements, and we're rolling up on an hour and a half, and I want to be as efficient as possible and respectful of people's time. You're muted, Jonathan.
You're muted, Jonathan.
I don't know what would be a double click, and that was my fault. I don't know what the best thing to do would be to just share my screen now and just go through it quickly, and then if anyone wants to review them.
Yeah, I think so. I think let's share them, have people look, you know, and we can, anyone, you know, that sees them can, you know, submit to the board in the next couple of days what their favorites were. And we do kind of a quick poll and make a quick decision and move this forward. Sorry to sound like I'm rushing, folks.
I guess if there's any, just kind of showcase them quickly. If there's any popular crowd favorites, you could maybe drop it in the chat. We're not going to make the decision formally this way in this rush, but just so you could see. Again, love to hear from our YLC members. If any particular ones stand out, maybe we could send an email to our YLC members and get any opinions from them. I don't know if that's a proper thing to do, but if we could do that, that might be interesting.
I personally think it would be, especially to Angus's point that, you know, social share and to Brian's point, like, you know, Instagram, we want to capture people's attention and make them, you know, want to click on whatever link and sign up.
That one's scary.
This one with the gray. Okay, I'll go through one more time. This is the first one.
I like the blue.
I think we should do what Kevin Parker has been doing. In the past 2.5 weeks, I have received so many brochures. So one of them will tell you what colleges exist. The next one will tell you how you go about applying for colleges. The next one will tell you about how you apply for financial aid. So I think we should send them all out to everybody every other day.
You know, it's a little fun. I know you meant that in a little bit of in a jest way, but there is something to be said that it doesn't actually require us to necessarily pick just one. We could definitely post these individual and see which ones get shared the most. That would probably tell us a lot right there. Like, that's not such a crazy idea, actually, to see which ones people want to share the most.
So two thoughts. So one, as Liam Neeson said in the hilariously horrible A-Team remake, overkill is underrated. All right, that's number one. And then number two, whatever flyer is picked, my question is, do we have people lined up for translation?
Good reminder, we don't, but that's Cincy. We can get that done.
Okay. Yeah, so I know we haven't picked one yet, but I'm just thinking whatever we pick, that's also something for us to remember as well.
Well, there'll be people online on the 19th who can speak various languages to people who come who don't understand English.
That's true. I'm talking about these brochures even before we get to the 19th. So
I
like,
understand, but if we're going to send out a brochure in Spanish or in Urdu or anything else, then someone who can read only that will then possibly come to on the 19th. And then the question is, will anybody be able to communicate with them?
We tend to have covered all of the bases that are flyers have been out at the, so, but we can make sure we have that tied up too.
Thank you, Sean. I know that you have to head out, but I think we're almost about done wrapping up anyway. But thank you, Sean, for everything, and good luck at your next thing.
You're muted, Sean.
All right. So I'm going to stop sharing. So you've seen all the wonderful, wait, is she going to go? Wait. You're still muted, Sean, if you're going to speak. Okay. All right. So we saw the flyers.
Who do we thank for putting together so many beautiful flyers? That was you?
Me? No.
That's what
That
I'm
was
saying.
Anya. I think that was Anya in the office, right?
Well, whoever did that's pretty amazing.
In the office.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, those are really good options. Yeah, so I guess anyone who's interested, for any feedback. And again, some might speak to different people. I think number one, the first one seems to be the one that, at least from the chats,
is pinging
that's
really
not
with folks.
most accolades, although this is a very not statistically valid sampling here, but but it does tell you which ones people were most passionate about writing about. So,
But I like the idea. The blue one in the chat seems to be popular, but I'm not averse to that idea of sending out maybe two or three of these and just seeing which one people shared most.
I think this is the crowd favorite one, right? This is I've not made that mistake, right? This is the one.
What about our youth council people? What do they think?
Well, Amber said she likes this one.
I like this one as well.
Same, it like really pops out more. I like the graph type of thing in the background. It looks nice.
I could go with that if the committee likes it. That would make things lots easier. And then you can keep the copies yourself and feel free to distribute the other ones as well.
You know what? Why don't we just say we're going to go with this? And if we feel we have to mix it up for some reason, maybe we'll throw out another one on social media.
Yeah. I mean, a couple weeks, couple of days.
We're not printing it. It's not costing us anything. So.
No, it's not. We would just have to work on, I think, though, I will say this, we should limit it to maybe no more than 3, because if we're going to be asking to have these translated, we don't want to do too much or give too much work.
If I might, I think you're right. We shouldn't translate all of them. This should be the primary one. But on the other hand, if we send out a second or third emailing, or whatever it is, people see this and at a glance, I saw that. But if there's a different one that shows up, they may stop and read it again. And in which case, you're really locking in people's brains what's coming. So I love the idea of sending out 2 or 3 or 4 different ones, but only translating 1 or 2 in a couple of different languages.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Sounds like we got a plan that way. Okay, I just want to finalize, because I mean, obviously the questions can be asked and things can be refined as we go throughout this process. Is there anything else though that is pressing that anybody wants to, Anne, I see your hand is up.
Yes, thank you very much. So in the past, we've sort of gone for one choice and used it kind of as a branding and integrated it throughout the event. So the lead up, the outreach to the organizations as well as to the students. I see many there that I think could work. I guess I guess Nikki would really be the one to address this, but I don't think she's on this particular Zoom. But in terms of branding, is it more hurtful to us to have this sort of revolving graphic that parents may look and say, well, that's not it, right? So we don't want to turn away people who if they recognize one thing and their child says it's this, and then they come back with something else. We don't know everybody's literacy level. And so what they may recognize as our brand for this year's event, they go, I know that because my older child participated or my neighbors did. So, but this revolving, although it's an interesting idea and I don't necessarily agree or disagree with it, I just wonder what the idea of not branding it with a logo does. Sometimes those things are helpful. So that's my little peanut gallery thought. Thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you. We can definitely put the YC21 logo, just the white version of it on there. And that way that it could be consistent. So yeah, the flyering doesn't have to be consistent with the branding, but we could put the YC21 logo on there, I'm sure. That would definitely make it feel like a youth conference, but it's just got different colors this year. Or this particular version of the flyer just speaks to different people, and that's why it looks a little different. We could definitely put the logo on there. So maybe we'll consider doing that. I mean, we'll have to play it by ear, because also we're not dealing with paper. It's not going to be flyered. People aren't going to see it at the train stations. Everything's going to be electronic, email, word of mouth, Eventbrite, social media. It's also a very different beast that we're dealing with this go around. So I don't know if we know exactly the right answer in one case may actually be a very wrong answer in another case. At least in my experience, having worked in a lot of digital media, it's just not the same thing as print in terms of that part of it. So anyway, with that said, any other questions, concerns, comments?
Anne's hand is still up, Anne. I can lower it, just asking.
Lower it.
Gotcha.
Dwayne, I'll turn it to you, because although I don't know if Officer.
I don't know if we lost P.O. Joseph or not, or the 70th precinct if they're still here.
Yeah, he put in the chat that he had to go.
Okay, so
yeah, they dipped.
Okay, so we'll have to follow up with them, and because Glenn had a question about the recruitment, so we need to get that answered, and also just get the whatever general announcement they had. Outside of that, I would just invite anyone. Does anyone have any other business or announcements that they would like to make for the record? Anyone?
Well, I would just like to thank both of our, Dwayne and Jonathan, for all the hard work you're putting in, well, every year, but certainly this year to make this happen. Thank you very much.
Sure, but I think really it's the district staff that should be thanked.
Them especially, of all people.
Yes, I would.
Always we know that behind all good things are Anya and Sean, right? I mean, we know that.
And now Brian too.
And now, okay.
So I would actually push all the praises their way. We're just trying to facilitate where they tell us to facilitate. Yeah, I mean, unless anyone has anything else, again, my only announcement would be, as I mentioned earlier, you should have all, as board members, at least, you should have received an email inviting you to the youth conference and to extend the invitation outwards to your networks. I would humbly ask that you do that as often as you can over the next week or two, just to give our young people as much of an opportunity at internships, at possible jobs that may go beyond if they're fortunate enough the summer, and prepare them for the next stage of their life. So wherever you can share it, please do. Like I said, I've been sharing it everywhere on social media. I think people think I'm crazy because I think I hit like 7. I even posted it into a Bed-Stuy Facebook group last night, and a Bronx community group last night. So I don't know. I'm just, I'm about giving people opportunity to, and access. So especially young people. So please share it widely wherever you can and amongst your networks.
Is there a limit to how many people could conceivably be involved?
There are limits in each specific webinar, but that would depend on how many webinars there are, how many different.
What's our maximum in one?
Depends on which package. We have 100. I think it's 100 is first and 500 is second. There's no 200 or 250.
Okay.
Well, because you're suggesting that, Dwayne, you suggested that we put out the word pretty far and wide, and considering it's anyone who can get to a computer, on one hand, I think that's a great idea. If kids in the Bronx can benefit, why not? On the other hand, we don't want to overwhelm the site.
No, just to be clear, that was just me being a little too excited and quick with my hands.
But
most of my share is local networks, but I understand where you're coming from, though. Yeah, we do, if there is a limit, we want to make sure we prioritize our Central Brooklyn community for sure, and not cause people to be locked out. I think that's your concern. I jumped ahead of you a little bit there, Glenn, so forgive me. But I'm assuming that was your concern.
And depending on how many presentations there are or breakout groups there are, it may not be an issue. The more groups you have, at any given point in time, the more number of attendees you can get in there. They may be locked out of a specific one, but they can get into something.
Okay.
And I think because of the way we're doing it as webinar style, everything's going to get recorded and put on YouTube anyway. So if someone were, for whatever reason, I have a barrier the day of, they'll be able to view this and they'll have a record of it and go back. They can reference and watch it later on. I believe that's still true, right, Mark?
Correct.
So one way or another, they'll be able to benefit from it.
All right.
Oh.
All right. Does anyone else have concerns, questions, comments?
I have concerns about my COVID vaccine knocking me out, but that's not related to that. That's why the video.
I second that concern.
That's why my video's not on.
Okay.
Well, feel better.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, get yourself some Gatorade.
Yeah, I'm just.
Don't get dehydrated.
At least the chill stopped. That was the worst.
All right.
Feel better.
Yes, feel better, Mark.
Feel better, Mark.
Yeah, feel better.
I would like to introduce a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting then of the CB14 Youth Services Committee at 8:14 on Thursday, April 22nd.
Second.
Seconded. All right. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Bye.
Thanks, Anya, for your hard work. Night, Glenn.